It's Leanne at Succeed Healthcare Solutions. My next tip around sensory needs is to take a little bit of an educational approach. So there is some physiology to sensory sensitivities, and in fact, we all have a sensory profile. I'm a bit sensitive to feeling too hot or too cold. If I'm too hot or too cold, I really struggle to think. So you'll see that I might bring lots of layers that I can layer up and down if I'm in a shared workspace. I might be fiddling with the air conditioning knob in the car or in the house, turning it up or down. Not a lot. It's not functionally significant, but I'm mindful. I have my own sensory profile. I've been able to use my sensory profile to my own advantage. When I start to feel my clothes getting a bit tight, I hate it. And it does help me to have a little bit more motivation to maybe think about losing a little bit more weight. I usually need a little bit more motivation than that, but it is helpful if I don't want to be wearing the same loose clothes all the time. As a side tip, I don't allow myself to buy any clothes for my wardrobe that are bigger than my aspirational size. So that helps. Side tip. So back on focus. So I like to educate people that we all have different sensory profiles. We can't change our sensory profile. We can adapt to it. We can learn to cope with it. We might be able to change our environment to maybe change how much we're exposed to it. But at the end of the day, we cannot change our sensory profile. So my suggestion is to think about if you've been exposed to any approaches where there's a school of thought around changing your child's sensory profile, to maybe think, maybe not. The approach I like to take is around educating the child about their physiology where possible, where they can cognitively cope with that. So for our benefit, what happens is, for example, when we first put on some clothes or a watch, our sensory neurons, I'll call them that, fire away to say there's something touching me, and then over a period of time, so they go up, over a period of time they dull down to the point where we kind of don't notice them anymore. My theory is that maybe some people are super sensitive to those sensations going up. Maybe it triggers a bit of a fight-flight reaction, and then maybe they experience those sensations even more. Personal theory. Don't have the science to prove it. There actually hasn't been heaps of research around sensory interventions. So I like to explain to them, for example, if there's a scratchy school uniform, you're going to notice it more at first. That's your neurons firing. And then what happens is, over time, our body can habituate at least a little bit, and we may not notice it as much. So for some people, they might be able to habituate lots and not notice it much at all. And for others, maybe not fully, but it should at least go down a little bit. Of course, we can make accommodations around, trying out different textures or different temperatures or any of that sort of stuff. Of course, we can do that as well. But I do think that a little bit of education can go a long way. I hope that's helpful.